Informed, not inflamed. Healthcare.
You may have seen her. She was the doctor who was with Trump at the signing of the Hospital Pricing Transparency Executive Order. And she talks to us about hospital cost, media bias, and what Trump is like. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Informed, Not Inflamed. Dr. Elaina George is an ear, nose, and throat specialist from Atlanta. She spoke at the White House backing the president's directive that forces hospitals to list their prices for all medical procedures so everyone can see what it is. Now, Elaina tells me this is a game changer for medical cost, and it seems to make sense. This will give patients more information to shop around and find better prices. However, there is some concern that I raised. The healthcare system is still complex, and we are seeing a lot of consolidation that could allow these organizations to price fix among themselves, even in the open. But Elaina says she thinks prices will drop.
That's what I want. That's what I hope. It's not about price control in the classic sense of you can only charge X for a procedure. I think that's inappropriate. It should be free market. So if I went to the best medical schools and I am the best trained and I feel that my value is X, then I want to get that. And if doctor next door to me wants to charge less, then the patient should have a choice of choosing which one they go to. I don't believe in everybody, how low can you go? Because that doesn't promote competition. That promotes drudgery, and that's slavery. So I'm not interested in that. And patients should be, some people want to pay more because they think it's more value. All sorts of things can go on, but it should be patient driven. Let me tell you, if the patients decide they want to see someone who's going to be a fraction of the cost of your practice in their next door, you have a choice. You move or you drop your price. But that other person is probably not. I mean, the insurance companies are really interesting about this. They claim that if patients know what the cost is, if the hospitals list their prices, then the prices will naturally go up. I mean, that's completely counter to any market, that I've ever experienced. And I don't believe that's true. Prices always drop when there's competition. So I want this to be a completely free market, not being run by the government in any way.
Then I asked her a question about media bias, the fact that this story was barely reported by the majority of the media. It did appear in the print media. Now, I wondered if this was a form of media bias that I talk about a lot, which is the sponsor bias. That networks didn't want to hear this story because it would hurt their sponsors, which are Big Pharma and big healthcare and health insurance companies.
I would agree with that. I mean, my mantra is always follow the money. And a lot of these media outlets are, if you watch TV, especially news, it's always drug companies, for example, that are advertising during that time. And I think there's also liberal bias, and I think there may be people who want single payer, and they're not interested in having a solution. And think about it, if you really want to be, think about this from an analytical standpoint. The whole point of driving single payer is that the costs are so high, so you need the government to help you. Well, if the costs drop, and you know exactly what they are, single payer goes out the window. So they're not interested in hyping that because their whole argument would go out the window for single payer. So there's a lot of conflict of interest, maybe, in the fact that it's not being covered.
Yep, I would agree with you. Let me ask you this real quickly. If you had advice to people, and again, I don't know if you're a supporter of Donald Trump or not, and I always try to be agnostic with everything and look at what the solutions are. What do you say to people who are not Donald Trump supporters, and to at least have them look at this, at what he did or what has transpired there, and how this can actually help in the long run, whether you like him or not, or whether you don't like his foreign policy or whatever else he does. Can you talk about that just real briefly?
This is not. This executive order helps everybody. It doesn't matter what political persuasion you are. If you can afford and you know what the prices are to access our healthcare system, then you benefit, period. I mean, if you know that I'm going to spend a fraction on a medication because the middleman has been cut out and all of the cronyism and that's built into the healthcare system, which is really what he cut through. He got rid of all the crony capitalist structure, which is all these folks telling you that they're important, but they literally are taking money from the patient and from the doctor, giving it to themselves for example, that 16-to-1 ratio in the hospital. They don't
Mhm.
provide a medical service. They don't take care of patients. They take care of the hospital's bottom line. And that money's come out of patient care, right? So we're talking about that set being affected. You notice you had to do an executive order and you couldn't do this through Congress because the top 10 lobby groups are healthcare related. This never would have been legislated in. You had to go around them. And that says a lot. And whether you want the government to take care of you or you want to handle your own health care, everybody should get on board with removing entities that are designed to help themselves at your expense. And I don't understand people who work against their own interests just because of emotion. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think
Mhm.
people should take a step back and really think about, is this good for me and my family? Will I spend less? Will I be able to see the doctor that I want when I want to? That's the only question you really need to answer. Ask yourself and answer, not who signed the executive order. That doesn't make any sense.
What was it like meeting the president and presenting at the White House? Where was it? I mean, I have to imagine it's you're kind of on a stage there that
Yeah.
everybody's there, and and you've spoken at conferences before. You've been in front of large people. Was this different?
It was interesting. It was different. It was, I was there not for the pomp and circumstance, but to actually help my patients. And that's the reason that I mean, because again, you're putting yourself on the front line. You don't know how it's going to be taken by people who are anti-government or anti this administration. But I really didn't speak for him. I spoke for my patient
Mhm.
and my profession, and that made it a very easy call because I was there without conflict. What he did, what this executive order does, aside from the president, is saving healthcare. As a physician, this is all I've ever wanted to do, and my profession is being taken from me. My patients are suffering. My other physician colleagues are suffering, and this is our lifeline. So this is a very easy call to go up there and speak because that's who I was speaking for.
Mhm. Did you get a chance to talk to him? And if you did, can you talk about his demeanor? Because I've talked to a number of people, and this is behind the scenes people who have met him, and they say what you see on sometimes on the outside when he's doing the rallies or when he's talking to the media, he's totally different. That he's actually a charming guy, and he's got like a Bill Clinton quality to him. Did you get a chance to see any of that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, he was very warm. He was warm handshake, engaged with all the doctors who were behind him and also in the audience. And you felt that he really was genuine at why he wanted this executive order to be signed. And he actually engaged, the administration engaged with physicians. So
Mhm.
it was the first time finally in years. We've gone up there multiple times and been ignored. I have personal stories about going up in the last several years and, kind of lip service. And this is
Mhm.
the first time that somebody actually listened to us and put policies forward that we've been asking for literally for years. So from that standpoint, I thought it was awesome. I mean, I respect the fact that he's doing a lot of things and he could have done other things instead of healthcare, but he put himself on the line and it will help the entire country. Doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's going to get a benefit from this and I really respect that.
All right, let me get to the important question. And so, because people know, they got to know ahead of time. You and I have played golf together. We're both golf nuts. So, did you get a tea time with him?
No, I didn't.
Now, I've known Elaina George for a number of years. She was actually the person who got me involved into Liberty Health Share, that is medical cost sharing. You can check out her website at drelainageorge.com, and that is Dr. Elaina, spelled with an E, Elaina, George.com. Just go check it out. You'll see a lot of stuff there. Not only her book, but also she has a podcast there as well. Tell me your thoughts on this direct